So as your business scales, you're going to need to work out what platform you're going to use for your marketing, and having an all-inclusive type of marketing platform that does more than just your lead pages, but also your email follow-up and drip campaigns and that type of thing is really crucial. And having a CRM built into it will allow you to have one place to keep all your leads and contacts. So let's take a look at some alternatives to HubSpot, which I'm sure you're familiar with, but check this out. So before we get started, I want to tell you about an exclusive group of entrepreneurs that I'm a part of. Go and check the link in the description below. You definitely want to check that out. All right, so we're going to discuss how we can get away from HubSpot. Don't get me wrong, I really like HubSpot. I've used their software. HubSpot's, in my area. They're based in Cambridge, Massachusetts, Boston area. And I'm in the Boston area. So anyway, I really do like HubSpot, but let's look at some alternatives. There is KEAP, or what was formerly InfusionSoft. InfusionSoft's been around for quite a long time. I think even maybe longer than HubSpot, if I'm not mistaken. They have a cool feature which HubSpot did not have when I used HubSpot, and that is the drag and drop kind of timeline for your automation, and you can connect things together as it shows there. InfusionSoft is a really good option. And then another one is Marketo. I believe that was not previously was not owned by Adobe, and I think Adobe bought that up. But again, really good software. They've been in the industry for quite a while. They're not newcomers at all, and they would have pretty much everything that you would get with a HubSpot or an InfusionSoft. So check out their software options. And then another one is Mautic. This one is also Boston-based company, but it's open source, so it doesn't actually cost you anything. So you would install Mautic on your subdomain, and you would host it yourself. So it's fairly easy to do. It's not that difficult to set up. And then I'm going to show you a back-end, option for this too, but they also have the drag and drop, connectivity between your campaign aspects. So let's take a look at Acquia, which is the not free version of Mautic, if you will, but it's also, they host it on their servers, and there's some other things that come into play with, what they offer. So they've really kind of joined, teamed up and are working together. So, all right, let's look at the Mautic dashboard real quick. So when you log into Mautic, you'd see something like this. Mine is a little bit old. It's a couple updates old, I believe, but it's pretty much what you would see. And you have different options over here on the left. So you have your contacts and companies, and you can see how many contacts you have that's associated with each company. Then you have your market segments, so you can segment that out how you like, or contact segments, and then you have a thing called components, which is your assets, which is your downloadables, PDFs or whatever, and then forms, landing pages, and dynamic content. So if you click into landing pages, you'd have like your landing pages and thank you pages. And then you have campaigns, okay? And let's actually open one of these campaigns real quick, because this is one of the things that I like about Mautic. So campaign builder. So like when somebody comes and signs up, it waits 1 minute, sends them, the PDF that they downloaded or asked for, and then but they also have access to that on the landing page, so it's kind of like a backup, and it gets the user familiar with receiving emails from you. And then it waits 1 day, and then it sends them the web design case study. So this is kind of a an introductory level, like they're searching for information, they're not quite ready to buy necessarily, but this sends them the web design case study is more informational. And then if they download the web design case study, their state will change. They'll be removed from the campaign that this is associated with. Then if not, it waits 3 days, sends them another download we have called Send Tips on Hiring a Web Designer. And if they download that, then the state changes, and then waits 1 month and asks for feedback, from them, and then after 32 days they're removed. So this is kind of an example of setting up a campaign inside of Mautic. So it's pretty flexible in terms of what you can do for nothing as a price point. Okay, so we've looked at campaigns. Now let's look at channels. You have marketing messages, emails. You saw in the campaign where it sent out an email, you'd have to set that up in the email area here. And focus items and social monitoring. They also have a point system. All right, so if we come over here to assets, there's a few different things. We have something called Tips on Hiring a Web Designer, which is more like, they're in the consideration stage. So you have stages down here. We have the web design consideration stage, and the web design decision stage. So if we look at the assets, you kind of see this is a consideration, Tips on Hiring a Web Designer. They're looking for a web designer potentially. They're pretty sure they want to get one, but they're still considering who they want. And then there's also the BBC case study for web design. So this is just stuff we've done for web design. Then there's benefits of a website as a lead generation tool. So this is kind of like top of funnel. This is kind of middle of funnel, and then this is kind of bottom of funnel. So you can also progress the user through those stages within the campaigns. You can set the stage to change. This is kind of the options you have with this. And the points thing, if they download Tips on Hiring a Web Designer and the benefits of a website as a lead generation tool, we can add like 3 points for that, or 1 point for this, let's say, and 1 point for this, and then another point for that, just to keep it easy. And we can say when there's 3 points, we want to reach out to that prospect, because we know that they've progressed far enough into our marketing funnels that they're kind of sales qualified. It's time to reach out to that person. So that's the point system, and we've already went over stages, and then they have some reporting, and that's pretty much it. But Mautic, for the price point of $0, is a really good tool. And it does a pretty good job for an open source option, for competing with things like HubSpot and Marketo and InfusionSoft, KEAP. But one other thing I want to show you is that Mautic integrates with Zapier. So if you're not familiar with Zapier, Zapier is a kind of a middle of the road for connecting all your apps. So you can go into here and you can explore apps that work with Zapier, and you can search through there. So if we were to use Mautic, for instance, we could, connect MailChimp to that. And then what would happen is when a user signs up on the website, it would send that information to Zapier, and then Zapier would connect that over and put that contact into your email list on MailChimp. So if you run your campaigns through MailChimp, everything's connected. And you can do the same thing with your Google Sheets, add stuff to Google Sheets. I mean, there's just, whatever you're using for an app, if there's a Zapier integration for both connection points, then you can tie things together to make everything automated cross-platform. So I would definitely recommend checking that out.
Hey, before you go, make sure you check that link in the description below for that elite entrepreneur group that I told you about at the beginning of the video. You do not want to miss that. Go check it out.